This is Richard Pitino, former New Mexico Lobo basketball coach and current Xavier head basketball coach. This is episode 101 of the Talking Grammar podcast.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Jeff Grammer with the Albuquerque Journal, and as you just heard, this is episode 101 of the Talking Grammar podcast. A rather interesting episode. The departing head coach of the UNM Lobos, Richard Pitino, agreed to have a quick chat on his way out of town, if you will, about his time as a Lobo coach, his decision to leave to take the Xavier job, and just some questions that I know some people around town, some people around the program probably would like to hear him answer. Why he left? Did he like it here? Was the conference realignment coming up in 2 years a part of the decision? Was he looking for another job? What does that mean when his name is coming up and he is talking to other schools? Did that become a distraction to his primary obligation as coach of the Lobos? I ask him all those things. I think his answers to those questions will be interesting. So I hope you do enjoy him doing that, him saying that. As I recorded the conversation with him this morning, Thursday morning, the vacant seat that he has left vacant is still open. Fernando Lobo, the UNM Lobo athletic director, is actively in pursuit of a new basketball coach. His Richard Pitino's replacement will probably be named, I would imagine, in the coming days. And there has been interest for this job. It is in a better place, as I've said, than it was 4 years ago. Doesn't mean it's ideal that a coach left. Doesn't mean that it's an ideal situation that the Lobos and the rest of the Mountain West is about to be embarking on in another year when 6 of the schools, or a handful of the schools rather, from the Mountain West depart to try and rebuild another mid-major program in the Pac-12 or whatever it's going to be called. But it is what it is. And the Mountain West, including New Mexico, are left trying to build up a conference that was built up in terms of basketball. Football is driving the bus on all this, and football has left UNM behind. If it was a basketball-only decision, UNM would have been part of the departing 5 or whatever that are going to the new Pac-12, or maybe even been in position for some other form of conference realignment that isn't over. So we'll see where UNM has positioned itself. If Jason Eck and Fernando Lobo and UNM administration can get football right and get UNM in a position to be in its best position, the next wave of conference realignment. And maybe that by then is to stay in the Mountain West. Maybe the Mountain West rebuilds itself to a formidable conference. So we shall see. Important part of this episode is a conversation with Richard Pitino, who on Tuesday night left the UNM Lobo basketball program after 4 years. Went from 13, took over a 6-win program, 4 wins against Division I teams the year before he got here. Obviously, that was the COVID year when the team had to live out of hotels in Texas and Nevada and Arizona and wherever else. And basically, it wasn't fair to that team, to that Lobo team, but it was also time in the administration's eyes for a change in leadership with Paul Weir. And Richard Pitino just got fired at Minnesota. He admits that he was down, and UNM brought him back up. And the people and the fan base around the Lobo program brought him back up. He says he's very grateful for that. But in his time, he went from taking over a 6-win program to a 13-win program to an NIT, first postseason of any kind in 9 years for the program at the time, then to the NCAA tournament, first NCAA tournament in a decade at the time, and then an NCAA tournament win this year in Cleveland. So that's where we are. That's the wrap-up of that. I do talk to him about what he said to players and staff. He is taking his entire staff with him to Cincinnati. He is choosing Skyline chili over green chili, and that, if anything, is worth questioning, really, right? It does have, if it has nothing to do with the money, then don't tell me it doesn't have something to do with the chili, because if he's picking Skyline chili in Cincinnati over New Mexico chili, and you got to kind of question what's going on with that, right? So hope you enjoy this. Hope you enjoy all our coverage of not only the ever-changing landscape of player and coaching moves and carousels and transfer portal world and college basketball, but our high school coverage. Spring football's full swing right now at UNM, and Sean Ryder's covering the Lobo football team, and all the coverage at the of the Lobos and of all sports at the Albuquerque Journal in springtime is available. And I appreciate all of you that are supporting local journalism. abqjournal.com/subscribe is how you can continue to support podcasts like this, coverage. We are the only local outlet that invests the resources to cover the Lobo basketball team year round, and travel with the team during the season. Not with the team, but travel to the same places as the team goes. So hope you, if you can, invest in local journalism by subscribing to the Albuquerque Journal digital product or print. And without further ado, for now, here's our conversation with Richard Pitino. I guess let's start with Tuesday. You had meetings with all the players on Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday I did not know I was going to get the Xavier job. I knew that they were interested. I felt like there was a strong interest, but I did not know where it would go. It's the process with all of these schools is really, really different for everybody. And so I wanted to get back. We got back, I think, Sunday? And I wanted everybody to take a breath, because all the players, as we got to realize, like they're evaluating their futures as well, so I just thought it would be counterproductive to do it right away when we got back. So gave them Monday off. Tuesday met with all the players. They wanted to kind of see where everything is at with everybody. Donovan and True talked about putting their names in the portal, and certainly Donovan and True, they've got a lot of great options. And then the other guys, we had a lot of guys graduated, so it wasn't a lot of meetings, honestly. Q wanted to put his name in the portal. Dylan wanted to put his name in the portal. I understood that. And then that was it. And then got the call that night from Xavier, and it progressed. But it moved fast, and I didn't anticipate it, but I felt very good about it.
I guess in those meetings, how much can you kind of walk us through what those meetings are and how they've changed through the years? I know it's something that you've sort of addressed off and on a little bit, but how does an end of the year meeting, how is it different today than it was even just 4 or 5 years ago?
Substantially different. Every single player on every single team is being pulled in the direction of leaving. Maybe not like you got to get out of there, but hey, so-and-so would offer you this, just telling you. And these schools are reaching out, maybe not to the player, right? Because they want to do the right thing, but they're reaching out to the high school coach, or they're reaching out to kids' agents. And they're saying, hey, if you put your name in the portal, this is what I got. And it just is what it is. Like, I'm not holier than thou on it. It's the same thing with these coaching searches as well. So, you just have conversations with the guys that you want to stay, of why you think it could be beneficial. You want to get them to a point where they tell you, yes, I want to stay, before you start throwing money at them. Yeah. Because everybody's always going to have more money, right? It's just a matter of deciding how you want to invest that money. And then the guys that, whether it was Donovan or True, of why they wanted to put their name in the portal, and just talk to them about it. I think it was, I went through the process with Fern, and he was awesome with it. So, you just got to be authentic and understanding of, this is why I think New Mexico is good, but I also understand why you want to move on for whatever the reasons may be.
In the case of Donovan, and I've had conversations with a couple of people now, and there have actually been a couple of people online already that have, talked to him. So people understand that the money he's had thrown at him, I shouldn't say thrown at him, but the numbers he's had thrown at him are, we're talking some pretty life-changing numbers, pretty significant. We're numbers at least that are being talked about are bigger than what JT Toppin got, stuff like that. He would be unwise probably not to explore those at this point. So I guess with that said, how was the conversation with a guy that you probably just can't even keep? Do you just is it quick? Do you just tell him you got to do it?
Yeah, pretty much. He came into my office, and ironically, there were Zooms that were going to be set up that afternoon before he was in the portal. There was numbers, ironically, before he was in the portal that were already being talked about. And I said, hey, if that's real, go in the portal. That's the bottom line. The problem is what I tried to tell him and everybody, because it's just so fluid, is just make sure they're telling the truth. Make sure they're not, and I'm not saying they are, make sure they're not dangling a number out there to get you to put your name in the portal, and then all of a sudden that's significantly less. Because I'm not saying in Donovan's case that's the case, but that's prevalent, I think. Hey, we'll pay you this, and then all of a sudden it drops substantially. So yeah, I mean, when he told me that, I said, well, I could probably pay you that, but it would be 1-on-5 every possession because I'd have no other players. But if that is the case, good luck to you. You got to do it, So, and that seems to be where that's going, in that direction. My thoughts with it is the guy gave us 3 amazing years. Certainly I got a lot of credit for it as the coach. There's a reason why the pit was packed. A lot of it was Donovan Dent. There is a reason why we won 2 championships, won 2 tournaments. A lot of that was Donovan Dent. So he deserves the right to, take the opportunity to, see what his value is. And more power to him. I'm really rooting for him.
And then just to sort of put a bow on the Donovan part of this and the unfortunate kind of transactional reality that it is now, the offer, whether it was a specific dollar amount or not, to stay at UNM for him, we're not talking about you or anything, but for Donovan, was pretty significant too, wasn't it? And that had already sort of been discussed. You can discuss that with a current player. It's the transfer portal stuff that you're not really supposed to, but obviously some things tend to happen. But there was a significant offer for him to stay, right?
Yeah, there was a strong desire to make it work. If the numbers that we're being told for him to go elsewhere are true, it's less, significantly less. So it is what it is.
The word significant, if I'm saying significant, it's all relative, right? It was significant for what UNM has ever been.
Yes, extremely significant. And, that's why it was hard for all of us. Like, I don't think Donovan Dent has a strong desire to leave New Mexico. I think he loved it here. I think he loved playing for me. He loved the conference. He was having great success. But anybody that cares about him, like I do and like a lot of people do, certainly would tell him he's got to strongly consider all options.
Between him, True, and every other player on your team, you have those meetings. I'll jump ahead and come back to the getting the Xavier job in a second, but you find out Tuesday night you get the job, then you reach out to these players again. As a coach, it's been with some of them for 3 years and coach that recruited them. How does that go? Does that happen Tuesday night? Does that happen the next day? When did you talk to them and what did you say, including, is there any possibility of them following you to Cincinnati? Was there any discussion?
Yeah, I didn't do that. It had nothing to do with Xavier. But what happened was Tuesday night, when they offered, the first call I made was to Fernando Lobo because I really like him a lot. I hope we continue to be really good friends. I think he's a terrific AD, and he was very, very willing to do a lot of great things to keep me here. And I know it's hard to do that. And so it put a lot of hard work in him, and I did not want him to ever feel like I was going behind his back or not being transparent. So called him first, and then I think what people have to realize is it is not, and I think I did a pretty good job of it, but it's not as easy to tell all the players and then that not get out. Then you've got Xavier that wants to put out their release. So like all of these people that vilify the coaches, like it's not as simple as everybody thinks it is. You really want to keep it as quiet as possible until kind of the deal is done. You're not trying to go behind people's back or anything like that. So I reached out, like I said, there wasn't a lot of players because you had the Nellies, Mustafas, CJs, Atiki, they were all graduating. Then you had Donovan and True. So, and then Q and Dylan were in the portal. So the returners, shot him a text right away. We had a miscommunication, me and Fernando. They did a Zoom. I didn't know exactly what time it was, so I missed it. But I just told all those guys, like, hey, I'm going to come in the morning. Let's get together. But they understand now more than ever because it's become so transactional for the players. And, they're way more, they see the big picture more now than maybe normal college kids before, which is good, but also a little bit sad. So we met the next morning in person, and I said, thank you for everything. I don't get this opportunity without the players. And, whether you stay here, whether you dive in the portal, like I'm always going to be your coach. I want you to find a great place. So let's communicate as best we can.
You are taking your coaching staff, and that includes at least some of the support staff too. How quick of a decision or a conversation was that?
Pretty quick. Yeah. I mean, I'm not one to believe it was all me that was the reason for all this success. And the world has changed. I think when I first got the New Mexico job, it was, I got to get a guy out of Texas. I got to get a guy out of Southern California. I got to get a guy out of Arizona to really recruit regionally. Now it's like pro sports, right? So now it's about evaluating relationships with agents. Certainly you want guys who understand the area of the job that you're at. But I think more than anything now, it's just competent people who can do the job. And my staff here, they did, and they're loyal. I kind of took something from Bronco. I thought that was really cool was how powerful is it when he takes a job and all of his staff is either former players, guys that have worked for him. They believe in them. So sometimes we overrate, recruiting in this area or whatever. Those guys and Peyton, they've just been so loyal to me and they impacted the success of this program. And, I didn't want anybody to be left behind.
Peyton kind of runs the show there, actually. So
she does.
I don't know why.
I kind of had to tell the Xavier people, like, hey, yeah, you got your people in place. Like, this is mine and Peyton's show, and it's really Peyton's show. So let's understand that.
Yeah, for people that don't know, Peyton kind of runs the show, certainly behind the scenes. She does so much. All right, so I want to now backtrack to the job. I'll call it a job search, a job hunt. I know it wasn't an active seeking on your part necessarily, but you have an agent. We kind of get agents are always out there looking for their clients' best interest and opportunities. So
they also profit off of new deals.
Yeah, they also make a little bit of money off of off of the whole thing. This wasn't the first time though that there had been an opportunity to at least pursue or talk to another school. You had Louisville last year, a couple years ago, South Florida, and this year your name certainly came up at least on social media, your favorite, but with a whole lot of names. How much of that is you telling your agent, like, yes, I want to look for something else? How much of that is just the agent? And how much of that maybe becomes at some point, if at all, a distraction to your primary job, which is UNM Lobo basketball coach?
Yeah, 0 distraction. I think what people have to understand is, like I remember, like they said, I interviewed for the Utah job. I had a conversation with the AD that probably lasted 45 minutes. And I would say both sides were interviewing. You know what I mean? Like, and that's not to disparage Utah, but, any of these schools, and there were several schools that called, it was not a directive of me to my agent to say, get me out of here. That's not what it was. It's a body of work of 4 years. You're a guy like me who's got a low buyout, right? So you're in their minds, whether it's a search firm, it's an agent, or you're somewhat movable, right? There's a list of guys, and humbly speaking, I'm on that. So they would, people would reach out, and these weren't long processes by any means. Like I said before, a lot of it was more me seeing what they had to offer, not just from a me contractually standpoint. What's your rev share? What's your salary pool? Like, tell me what this, because it's substantially changed. And it's very important for all these coaches whoever takes jobs to know what the resources are, because you're not going to win if you don't have rev share. It's not going to happen. It's impossible. So it was more that. It was not like, get me out of here. Every time a school called was not something where I was like, oh yeah, I want to do this. No. And every time they did, I communicated with Fern and told him. And he was awesome with it. So the whole, oh, that's a distraction is the silliest thing ever. Because it's so easy to crank out a 30-minute Zoom with someone. You know what I mean? It's not, you're not going flying here and doing that. Like it's none of that. And, I think I showed certainly that nobody was distracted. I mean, obviously we did a lot of great things. So, Xavier was an 11th hour deal. It really was. And it's, I'm happy that opportunity popped up.
All right, I'll go through a couple of these last ones like pretty quick here. And obviously, you've got a lot going on, but the idea I do want to cover some bases that I think some people have. I don't want to say it's just people on Twitter, because I do think it is some people in the community that want to just at least hear your answer to some of this stuff. You didn't like Albuquerque. You don't like the conference ahead. There's some truth to some of these, and some truth that might not exist at all to some of these, but I want to throw some of them out there. You and the family maybe never liked Albuquerque as much as you wanted to or would have liked. Any truth to the liking of New Mexico and Albuquerque?
We loved New Mexico. Great friends, love the weather, love the quality of life, no traffic, like all those things I like a lot. The airport was great. The people treated me so well. I talked about this. You come from Minnesota, and it's not like they abused me in Minnesota, but you're down. And the spirit of this place rejuvenated me in my career. I could have stayed here a long, long time. Understand this, though. People in Albuquerque, for the most part, have their families here. Their grandparents, their parents, their wives' parents, cousins, and that's awesome. That's why this place is special. We do not. So that was the only challenge with Albuquerque, was our games are on late. They're not able to watch. It's hard to get here for our families, things like that. But we were extremely happy here and very sad to leave. It's a great place. It is a great place to be a basketball coach. And I know I'm going to miss it dearly.
Conference realignment is a reality that's about to hit this town and this program pretty hard. And I know you have been outspoken about it. You're not a fan of it. How much of that did play into this specific move, but also just the idea that maybe in the next year or two, again, you didn't tell your agent to go look for a job for you, but you probably had a conversation at some point that made it clear that, look, I'm not thrilled about what this is about to be in 2 years.
I don't know if not thrilled is the word. It was more concerned.
Sure.
You're losing a lot of really good basketball brands that, since I've been in the league, there was 4, 6, 4 that went into the tournament. That's really stable and good. It's going to look a lot different. And yes, that bothered me. Now, was it the total reason I left? No. Do I believe that Fern, President Stokes, and all the people are bought into making sure New Mexico is number one in whatever league they're in? Absolutely, I do. And that's really all that matters. But the Big East is very, very stable. I don't think the Big East is going to get lumped into the realignment stuff because it doesn't have football. So that was definitely something that bothered me. I don't know if it's anybody's fault. And I also don't think, you're going to win a lot. And that's the end of the day. That's what matters. But it just certainly concerned me. But I do know that Fern has a great plan. And I think the cycle is going to spin again in realignment for sure. And he will be more than ready for it.
The New Mexico part of this too, you love New Mexico. I just want to be clear. You're taking Skyline chili over New Mexico chili.
I tell you what, we probably the first 2 years pretended to embrace the chili, but didn't really embrace the chili. And now, like, we're all in on it. So yeah, I mean, no, like I said before, like we are going to look back, and that's part of the reason why I think the timing is actually good. I do have a family. People don't realize I have children, right? And Like my daughter's going into high school, so if there was a time to move on, I think now is the right time for it. As much as we all love Jack, who knows if he's going to remember a lot of this as he gets older. He'll remember some, and then Zoe is a little bit younger, but the timing was right. I know there's probably people who are mad at me, and I understand that, but we have so many positive feelings about this place, and I feel like the time is right.
You have any understanding or comprehension of why Jack became what Jack became here in the past 4 years? Because I don't quite get it. I mean, he's awesome, but I don't get it.
I think he's got there's a refreshing way about him. Maybe his age. There's a naiveness to him, and I think he's a great kid. I mean, all three of my kids are great, but I just think people really identified with his age, his love of the Lobos. So he's like I said. I mean, the way the people treated my family. Like when I took the job Wednesday morning, I woke up really early, and I just shot off a lot of texts to a lot of people in this community to thank them.
Well, Jack owes me a bracket challenge again somewhere down the road. He got me twice, so I'm not thrilled about that. Look, Richard, the era, I guess, is gonna end. I do think, and I put it on social media the other night, that I'm not trying to be the Homer reporter on this, but I do think New Mexico basketball is going to be okay. I think it's in a much better place than it was 4 years ago. And I do think that some of the stuff you said is, from my vantage point, accurate in that I do think there's some alignment with the administration and with the Kurt Roths and collectives and donors of the world that make UNM basketball a lot better than it was 4 years ago. But you had a hell of a run, and I know you've shown your appreciation and said your appreciation for your time here. But it really was a really good run, and I'm just curious if that in any way is going to lead to a home and home with the Lobos and Xavier.
I don't know. The first part, I agree with you, and thank you. I think
Like how I buttered you up for all that, just to kind of put you on the spot and
sandwich
say the home and
technique.
home.
I don't know. If they're not very nice to Steve Alford when he comes back, so I don't know if I would be down for that. I mean, I've got so many good feelings about New Mexico, that I don't want to screw that up by coming back. It has been special, and I think the point that you made is clear. I think the administration, Fern, is awesome. I think they saw the return on the investment. Pit being packed, Mountain West tournament, really good players. Albuquerque is better when the Lobos are better. Like, I think they saw it. And, you do have to invest in order to get the return on the investment. And I think they're very much prepared to do that.
Any highs or lows that kind of stand out that are worth mentioning? I will put you on the spot for one other thing. You didn't wear the cherry blazer ever. You went with the quarter zip, and by the way, I'm fine with the quarter zip. I've never understood why in a basketball setting with thousands of people yelling and guys in shorts and tank tops running around on the court, sweating all the time, why there's one person that's supposed to be in a suit. I don't understand that, but. That said, other people wanted to see you in that cherry blazer one more time, at least one game. Any regrets for not wearing the cherry blazer, or any other things that maybe you wish had been a little different in your time here?
The cherry blazer thing, I would say, yeah, I regret it. I think I should have done it. But every time I debated doing it, I'm like, what if we lose and I jinx it? You know what I mean? So that was a little bit of that. I am going in a league where some coaches are starting to try to bring back suits, and I should have thought of that before making that decision. My dad, Danny Hurley, who knows if Kevin Willard gets Villanova, he wears suits as well. So we got to band together on that. No real regrets. It's been a magical 4 years. I think I embraced the community. My family embraced it. We met a lot of really, really good people. Cherry blazer or not, quarter zips or not, we won championships, and that's really all that matters. As all these coaches figure out what they need to do and how they need to dress and how they need to act. My suggestion to everybody is be yourself and go win a lot of games, because this community, deserves it.
To piggyback off that and to wrap this up, the future of Lobo basketball, we talked about the support around it is better than it was. I know you still, had you been here, we're pushing for it to be better and stuff, but what do What do you think the future of this program is, with all things considered, including the league changing in a couple years? And right now, there's not a head coach. Do you have any say? Not, I shouldn't say any say. I know you don't have any say, but do you have any thoughts on who should be the head coach? And just what do you think the future of Lobo basketball is right now?
I think everybody sees what it takes in order to replicate this. Do I think I'm a good coach? Yes, I do. But a lot of our success was based on a lot of people who supported us, fans, stakeholders, Kurt, administration, whether it was Eddie, whether it's Fern, President Stokes. Like, I think everybody sees it. So I am definitely proud of what we did, but I'm also really proud of where this thing could go because of a lot of hard work from a lot of people. As for, I told Fern, if you need any character references on guys or whatever, hit me up. But other than that, like, those guys will figure it out. He's got a really good team, whether it's Fern and whether it's Jalen, Ryan Berriman, Amy, like they all know enough people. So he's going to make a great hire. I think it is an attractive hire right now, because we've had success. So it's in a great place. I'm sad to leave. I really am, but I also feel really good about the work that we've done, and I'll be rooting for him. I mean, it's a great time in my life. As I said before, I was really down when I came here, and New Mexico brought me back.
Well, this may surprise you, but I can't let it go with A, not lying and saying I had one question when I have one more, and B, making it a really, really important question. What does a coach do with all the Lobo gear that you've accumulated for 4 years? Is that just a giveaway to somebody your size, or is that a drop off at a thrift store kind of thing?
It is. I did that this morning. I have a good friend who's my size, who lives in my neighborhood, and I texted him and I said, Santa Claus is coming to your house. It was good for him, but it was equally good for me. Not that I hate the Lobos, but you always, every job you take, you want to save a couple things. You end up never wearing them. You know what I mean? So I've got great pictures and great memories, but the gear part, because I'll be shipped off to Cincinnati here, and I don't know when I'll come back. So I want to get as much stuff out, kind of off the books as I can. So you will be seeing my good friend Paul Ortiz walking around with a lot of quarter zips that you may have seen before. I got to tell him to wash them. But yes, that was a pressing matter that I needed to handle.
So if he's walking around town and people start cheering when he's walking down a hill or a ramp, he'll understand that it comes with the gear. All right, Richard, I know you're going to miss the media most of all, so I'll leave it at this and appreciate the time that you were with the media, including myself, of course. I'm not naive to think that you didn't help make my job a little bit easier as well. So I do appreciate that. I wish you would have watched La Bamba, but whatever. Good luck at the next stop. I do have your number, and until you block it, I'm going to annoy the hell out of you.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate you. I think anybody that always thinks the media wants teams to be bad because it's good for their job, I think it's really prevalent that that's not true. I think it's better for your job when we were good. And there's good people, good media in this town that, want to do their jobs. I'm not saying you're rooting for anybody by any means, but it's a fun relationship, and we will keep it going in the future.
Richard, I appreciate it. Good luck at Xavier.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, well, there you go. There's my conversation with Richard Pitino. Hope it maybe answered some questions that you may have had. Maybe you just wanted to have a little bit of closure. Maybe you're still mad as hell and don't care what he said. Maybe you'll be grateful for the time Richard Pitino had here. It's all up to you. You get to make that decision. That's the wonderful part of fandom, right? You get to make the call on the fandom. So he is moving on to Xavier. Lobo basketball, in my mind, will be just fine. It is not ideal, but it will be fine. And it'll be an interesting change because right now, while the job is attractive, to a certain level. There is some trepidation among some coaches' eyes, probably, about what's going to happen with this league transition in another year when the Mountain West and Pac-12 is kind of split the Mountain West up. So we'll see. We'll see what that means. Right now, it's a transfer portal world, and as long as the support in the NIL and the rev share is there, which it is still for New Mexico basketball, I think the Lobos will be just fine out west, competing with all the programs, including the ones that are leaving for the Pac-12 and so forth. So hope you enjoyed this podcast. Hope you enjoy all our coverage at abqjournal.com. And until next time, thanks for watching.